riding through the neighborhood in Roselle that I grew up in on Turner Road now. Coming up here to Hill Street. I lived on Walnut, but Walnut doesn't go through because there's an apartment building to the left, or a series of them, and that has Walnut Court, but they never extended it to Walnut Street. This is Walnut Street, the street I grew up in. Michelle lived there. My nemesis, Brett Clausius, lived there. My best friend growing up, Chet Smith. Last time I talked to him was about 15 years ago. Here's was my house, 611 West Walnut. Had a gravel driveway back in the day. No fenced backyard. Looking at the Harley. Lisa Doherty lived here. It was only a one-story then. This house had a 67 Ford Galaxy convertible, yellow. Back when I had a 67 LTD four-door beater, their Galaxy convertible was beautiful, and mine was a piece of junk. I would still love to have it back, though. Piece of junk or not. Up here on Ardmore Avenue, my friend Don Norman lived. Let's see if his house is still here. I think it is. This one here had a pool back in the day. It's got a garage in back now. No pool, but a garage. And then several McMansions. None of these were here. These were all tear down and rebuilds. My high school is up ahead, at least the one for junior and senior year. Lake Park High School has this weird system where freshmen and sophomores go to one school and juniors and seniors go to another. That's saved on having to have all of the implements of two separate full schools, so they can share athletic fields and whatnot. So I had a very close walk to school the last 2 years. I think I drove my car here maybe 1 or 2 times because students weren't allowed to drive to school. Plus, there's not much point in driving 2 blocks, 3 blocks. But that's Lake Park High School West Campus. Up here they have, or had, no, still have, a driver's ed range. Might as well go take a, well, it might just be a parking lot nowadays. Yeah, nowadays it's just a parking lot. No more driver's ed range. Oh, look, I didn't realize I could cut through. Guess I'll do that. So in college, I worked for the Park District, and they bought out this property back then, but no ball fields. At the time, it had an ancient house that was abandoned and a barn. And I think actually there's an old barn here and a new barn. They actually built one, but the original barn we just used for storage. In the later years of my employment, I worked there for 4 summers, or actually 5 summers. I'm trying to think which one's the original. I'm going to guess the first one. Yeah, because it's got the old spinners on top. Roselle Park District trucks. Yeah, that one, yeah, I would guess that the first one was the original barn. Old Ford pickup. They have salt stored here. We never did salting. And then they bought all this field at some point and put the park in the athletic fields, but that was never there back in the day. The house was here, and it was torn down before too long. Actually, before I had association with the Park District, I did come and check out the house, because that was all a field that was fairly close to where I live, which we'll go look at here. So this was all field. Well, not here, but up a block. This was all all field. When I was in high school, I think they built these houses. But when I was younger, we used to walk through the field and go check out the barn. I think we found a transmission by the barn that we brought home and took apart. So anyways, when I was of driving age, this road existed, but it ended up here. And my house, oh, here, let me get up there. Okay, so I lived the third house in on the next street over. So this road did not exist. And where is my house? I think my house was right through there. And so I had the brilliant idea that I could take a shortcut home by driving my 72 Cutlass 4-door through the field. That did not work out so well. And the Cutlass ended up getting badly stuck. I left it there for the evening and went out to a concert. And then when I got home, my car was gone. Like, okay, where's my car? Called the police, and they were nice enough to have it towed to an impound lot. And it took 2 4-wheel drive tow trucks to get the car out of the field. It cost me, I think, probably around $130, which was a lot of money back then for a 17-year-old. Had to borrow it from my father and eventually pay it back. So don't drive your car through fields. Might have led to me 20 years later getting a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So Forest Road was always here, but this little neighborhood wasn't. Menching Road. For a long time, this was like the far west end of Roselle. And I remember that this road was gravel back in the early 70s. That was like before the subdivision and houses. So we're coming back to the high school. Now we'll turn on Bryn Mawr Avenue. So this is Waterbury subdivision, built in the early 70s. I think Bryn Mawr was here before the houses, because I do remember my father taking me on a motorcycle ride through here. Not positive if it was Bryn Mawr or if it was Menching. I do remember it was like cornfields. My friend Phil Shelley lived up here somewhere, maybe in the Blue House, 875. I'll have to ask him if that was his house. And there are a couple of parks back here off the main street that I used to have to cut the grass out. Which on a tractor was kind of fun. Doing the weed whipping and that kind of stuff was no good, but I did enjoy the tractor work. And then Roselle had two pools, one about 2 blocks or 3 blocks east of where I lived, and then another coming up here in a little bit. I don't think it's still a pool or buildings even still there. Kennedy brothers built this subdivision, and so the pool was called Kennedy Pool. Nothing to do with the president, but it was right here. Is no more. But Kennedy Pool. And then this is Lake Street, US Route 20. Papworth is this first street here, and my aunt still does live on it, aunt and uncle. One day in high school, I rode a skateboard from my house over to here, and I didn't usually use it for travel, but for some reason that day I did. I remember coming down this hill and losing control and conking my head good. Of course, no helmet. And I was fine, but didn't feel good. So here's my aunt and uncle. Still do live right here. My uncle built the house with his bare hands back in the probably late 60s, early 70s. And this road here goes up to Stratford Square Mall in Bloomingdale, which is where I worked in high school. First at the Earl of Sandwich shop, and then later at the Maloney's, I think. Yeah, it was a short order restaurant. But I can truthfully say I have been paid thousands of dollars to cook for people. Probably about $4 at a time, $4 an hour. But I have been paid thousands of dollars to cook for people. I always tell that to my wife when we talk about cooking. Now this road here, notice it has some nice curves. To a teenage boy, this looks a lot like a speedway, which is what I called it.